35. The day after I gave blood, and within a few weeks I received a letter from the Red Cross saying that they were grateful for my donation. And on a side note, it was discovered that I had an elevated platelet count and that many with clotting disorders could benefit from this donation also. The letter was sweet and concise, and I did not put any distress in my mind that perhaps this is unusual, or rather that this elevated platelet count could forever change my life. I had found myself mentally prepared for gray hairs and wrinkles, but not the heart attack. On Sunday, December 4th, I was at home watching TV with my husband, Chris. He was supposed to have been working this weekend, and for some reason, someone at his work decided to take his shifts. I got up to go to the bathroom, and suddenly I felt as if somebody had punched me right in the chest. And I really didn't know how to grasp that. I clenched my chest, and I stepped out of the bathroom, and Chris looked at me and asked me if I was okay. I told him I didn't feel good and that perhaps I had heartburn or something, because this just doesn't feel right. I jumped into the shower thinking that maybe that will make me feel better. And when I got into the shower, I went from standing to sitting to on the floor within less than a minute. It was just excruciating pain. I worked my way out of the shower and told my husband again that I wasn't feeling so good. He got up and he went to get me some medicine. By the time he got back with what looked like maybe some ibuprofen and some Tums, which is the best thing he could do at the moment, I just turned to him and I was unable to catch my breath. And I said, "This is bad, we need to go to the emergency room." Chris had to dress me by this time because I was too weak to even do it for myself. We went to the emergency room in a frantic, and at that moment, we just really didn't even think about our children. We left our 9-year-old and our 6-year-old at home, and we had to make some phone calls after we got there. But, at that moment, that's the last thing that was on our minds, because I really thought, this is bad. When we got there, we were rushed back, and I was put on the monitors. While I was answering questions, my body just started violently shaking, and I couldn't control it. The nurses were trying to get an EKG reading, but couldn't. They asked me to try to lay still, and as I was doing the best that I could, I heard them call for more staff members to come in, and they said, "Is she having ST elevations?" And being a nurse, I knew that ST elevations were not good. In fact, they're catastrophic. I'm 35, having a heart attack, and at that moment, my familial maternal instincts kick in. I said to the doctor and the nurse, "Don't tell my husband, he's gonna freak out." And one of the nurses responded back to me with, "Blanca, we have to tell your husband, he needs to know." And that's really when I first started to cry. Because just finally hit me, I was having a heart attack. Excuse me. I really don't remember much after that, and thank God there's something called morphine and Versed for that. I had an angiogram to see the extent of damage and to see if anything could be done less invasively. However, after 2 stents, they could not take away the clot, nor could it repair a ruptured artery. That evening, I had a 5-hour-long double bypass surgery that lasted until 2 a.m. the next morning. When my surgeon came out, he advised my family that there was cardiac damage, and he was able to turn my heart blue to pink, and that when I wake up, the extent of the damage could be assessed. In other words, if I wake up talking without symptoms of a stroke, or can remember my family and friends, then my clot didn't go to my brain. Thank you. I thought this would be a little bit easier. I luckily did not have a stroke or worse major brain damage, and feel very blessed to be able to live and love my family. I took extra measures to remove my Mirena, which is a form of birth control, while I was in the hospital. I figured that if this was by any chance the culprit, I did not want to take another chance of having a cardiac event. Today marks, well actually not today, Sunday, I was thinking about it this morning. Sunday marks my 8-week anniversary. And believe it or not, just 4 weeks ago I could barely walk for any distance without getting exhausted. Meaning, going to get a drink of water in the kitchen was a chore for me. 4 weeks out of surgery, I started my cardiac rehab with Marcy. I have been working with an excellent staff, and I was really quite humbled when I started. Here I am, a 35-year-old who, in the past, I've run half marathons. I have been my muscles had atrophied and were acting like jello. That is exactly what happens when you lay in bed for about 4 weeks. I started at the meager pace at 1 for 6 minutes, and I was winded and exhausted. And I looked over, and when a 35-year-old is struggling so much next to a wimpy 60-year-old, it's very distressing. You can easily get discouraged that you will never get back to normal. I am proof that with a lot of help, you can get yourself back. I feel more energized, and I definitely am getting used to my new normal. I go red today to tell you that your numbers really count. If you don't know your numbers, then you need to go get some lab work done this week. It's a priority. Whether you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or high platelet count, they are all risk factors for a devastating heart attack. I cannot imagine where my family would be without me, and I don't want to do this again. I know my numbers. Do you? Thank you.